In the sun-scorched landscapes of Mexico, where the earth stretches out in seemingly endless vistas of arid beauty, a land steeped in history and resilience. Some names are whispered with fear, reverence, and a strange sort of fascination. Names that echo through the corridors of power and the hidden alleyways of the underworld. These are names that carry weight, stories etched in blood and whispered in hushed tones, but none resonate quite as powerfully or inspire as much conflicting emotion as Joaquín El Chapo Guzmán. His name alone conjures images of both immense power and profound lawlessness. His story is not just a biography, it's a modern epic, a sprawling narrative of ambition, betrayal, and survival against all odds. It's a tale marked by audacious escapes that defied logic and mocked the very notion of impenetrable security, unimaginable wealth that could buy influence and silence dissent, and a reign that gripped a nation, holding it captive in a web of fear and dependency. El Chapo was more than a man. He was a phantom, a whisper in the shadows, a figure who seemed to exist beyond the reach of the law. He was notorious for vanishing from the world's most secure prisons, leaving authorities baffled and the public in disbelief, a testament to his cunning and the depth of his influence. He built an empire on cocaine, flooding streets and amassing power through the relentless pursuit of profit. And blood, the inevitable consequence of a life lived outside the boundaries of morality and law, he became a folk hero to some, a symbol of defiance against a corrupt system and a monster to others, a purveyor of violence and misery. To authorities across the globe, he was public enemy number one, a target to be hunted, captured, and brought to justice. Yet, to many in Sinaloa, he was a Robin Hood, a benefactor who offered a helping hand. He provided where the state failed, filling the void with acts of charity and displays of power. His legend is a paradox, a complex tapestry woven with threads of both admiration and condemnation. He was both villain and hero, a figure who challenged our understanding of right and wrong. His saga forces us to confront the blurred lines between justice, power, and myth, and to question the very nature of legend itself. Born in 1957, Joaquín Guzmán Loera's destiny was intertwined with the rugged landscape and harsh realities of rural Mexico from the very beginning. His birth marked the start of a life that would become synonymous with both immense power and profound violence. His origins lie in the remote, poverty-stricken village of La Tuna, Sinaloa, a place where opportunities were scarce and survival often depended on ingenuity and resilience. This isolated setting would profoundly shape his worldview and ultimately influence his path. Guzmán's childhood was not one of idyllic innocence. It was marked by hardship, scarcity, and the ever-present specter of violence that permeated the community. These early experiences forged a toughness and a pragmatic outlook that would serve him well in the years to come. Formal education offered little promise in La Tuna. Dropping out of school early, Guzmán turned to other means of survival, seeking knowledge and opportunity outside the confines of the classroom. He immersed himself in the region's most lucrative, albeit illicit, industry. He learned the intricacies of the drug trade in the poppy fields, gaining first-hand experience in the cultivation and processing of opium. For Guzmán, crime wasn't a moral failing, but a calculated choice, seeing it as his only viable escape from the crushing grip of poverty that held his community captive. It was a means to an end, a path to a better life, however dangerous. By the 1970s, his ambition and street smarts had caught the attention of powerful figures. He was working for the Guadalajara Cartel, a major player in the burgeoning drug trade. Guzmán quickly distinguished himself within the cartel's ranks, earning a reputation for ruthless efficiency and an unwavering commitment to the organization's goals. His rise was meteoric. After the Guadalajara Cartel's eventual fragmentation, El Chapo, seizing the opportunity, co-founded the Sinaloa Cartel, a move that would solidify his place in the annals of drug trafficking history. He wasn't content with the status quo. El Chapo pioneered the use of sophisticated drug tunnels, revolutionizing the way drugs were smuggled across borders and solidifying his cartel's dominance. His keen business acumen and strategic vision allowed him to build a global empire, extending his reach far beyond the borders of Mexico. This empire brought immense wealth and power, making him not only one of the world's richest men, but also one of its most wanted, a figure shrouded in legend and infamy. But his ascent to the pinnacle of the drug world was paved with violence, leaving a devastating trail of bloodshed and suffering in its wake. This violent legacy inevitably set the stage for his first major showdown with the forces of law and order, a confrontation that would define the next chapter of his tumultuous life. In 1993, El Chapo was captured in Guatemala and extradited to Mexico, sentenced to over 20 years in a maximum security prison. But prison was no cage. He bribed guards, lived in luxury, and ran his cartel from behind bars. For 8 years, he plotted his escape, waiting for the perfect moment. In 2001, he vanished, allegedly smuggled out in a laundry cart, though many believe he simply walked out thanks to millions in bribes. The escape humiliated the government and elevated him to legendary fugitive status. He melted back into Sinaloa, more powerful than ever. The myth of El Chapo had only just begun. For 13 years, El Chapo was the world's most wanted man, expanding his cartel's reach to over 50 countries. He lived as a ghost, protected by tunnels, safe houses, and a loyal network, always one step ahead. Authorities slowly closed in, dismantling his inner circle and tracking his movements. In 2014, a raid in Mazatlan ended his run, captured without a shot, found in bed with his family. The government declared victory, vowing there would be no escape this time. He was sent to Altiplano, Mexico's most secure prison. But for El Chapo, no prison was ever truly secure. The world watched, waiting for his next move. Altiplano was designed to be escape-proof, but El Chapo had other plans. For 17 months, he played the model prisoner, all while a mile-long tunnel was being dug beneath his cell. On July 11, 2015, he slipped into the shower, vanished through a hole in the floor, and rode a modified motorcycle to freedom. The escape was a masterpiece of engineering and corruption, exposing the state's inability to contain him. The world was stunned, the government humiliated. El Chapo's legend grew. He was now a modern Houdini, untouchable and unstoppable. But his freedom would not last. The hunt was on once again. After his spectacular escape from Altiplano prison, a feat that stunned the world and humiliated the Mexican government, El Chapo was once again a fugitive. The manhunt intensified, but for a time he seemed to vanish into thin air, aided by his vast network of loyalists and the deep pockets of his drug empire. El Chapo's ego, always a driving force behind his ambition, now led him to seek a movie about his life. He envisioned a cinematic portrayal of his rise to power, a testament to his cunning and influence. This desire for immortalization would ultimately prove to be his undoing. He began contacting actress Kate del Castillo, a famous face known for her role in La Reina del Sur, and Sean Penn, the controversial journalist and actor, hoping they would help him bring his story to the silver screen. Unbeknownst to El Chapo, these secret communications, facilitated through burner phones and encrypted messages, were being intercepted by Mexican authorities and the DEA. The walls were closing in. The information gleaned from these intercepts provided crucial leads, leading authorities straight to him, revealing his hideouts and movements with increasing accuracy. The net was tightening with each passing day. In January 2016, after a bloody raid on a suspected safe house in Los Mochis, Sinaloa, El Chapo was nearly captured. The operation resulted in a fierce gun battle, leaving several dead and wounded. He managed to escape through a hidden tunnel, a familiar tactic, but this time, his freedom would be short-lived. The authorities were hot on his trail, learning from past mistakes. Hours later, he was captured for the last time, apprehended while traveling in a vehicle on a nearby highway. His reign as the world's most powerful drug lord was finally coming to an end. Knowing they couldn't hold him securely within their own prison system, given his history of escapes and the pervasive corruption, Mexico made the decision to extradite him to the US in 2017, fulfilling a long-standing request from American authorities eager to bring him to justice on their own soil. His trial in New York was a media spectacle, drawing intense global attention as the details of his criminal empire were laid bare. The courtroom became a stage for a drama of epic proportions. In 2019, after a lengthy and highly publicized trial, he was sentenced to life plus 30 years, a punishment designed to ensure he would never again walk free. He was sent to ADX Florence, America's most secure prison, a supermax facility known as the Alcatraz of the Rockies, where he remains to this day, isolated from the world he once controlled. El Chapo's story is now legend, a cautionary tale of ambition, power, and the devastating consequences of a life lived outside the bounds of the law. He is seen as a monster to some, a ruthless criminal responsible for countless deaths and immense suffering, while to others, particularly in his home region, he remains a folk hero, a symbol of defiance against a corrupt system. His cartel left a legacy of violence and fear, a trail of bloodshed that continues to plague Mexico and fuel the ongoing drug war. But his story also exposed the failures of the war on drugs, highlighting the ineffectiveness of prohibition, and the unintended consequences of a policy that has fueled violence and corruption for decades. And the deep roots of corruption that permeate all levels of society, from local police forces to the highest echelons of government, making it difficult to combat the drug trade effectively. In books, TV shows, and narco-corridos, the ballads that romanticize the lives of drug lords, his myth endures, constantly being retold and reinterpreted, solidifying his place in popular culture. El Chapo's life is a modern parable, a dark reflection of the social and economic inequalities that plague Mexico and other parts of the world. A story about power, poverty, and the allure of living outside the law, a temptation that continues to draw many into the dangerous world of drug trafficking. His legend, carved in blood and tunnels, a testament to his ingenuity and ruthlessness, will haunt Mexico and the world for generations, a reminder of the enduring power of the drug trade and the complex challenges of combating it.